Welcome to the summary of the next episode, number 9 of Read Finnegans Wake in 20 Sessions. For this one, we're going to take a little breather from reading the text itself, and instead, we're going to consider some suggestions on how to actually approach reading the Wake. So let's just dive right in. We're talking about Finnegans Wake. Yeah, that book. The one with a reputation for being, well, impossible. It's kind of known as the Mount Everest of literature, and honestly, that's not far off. But today, we're going to get out the map and chart a course to the top. And look, if you're feeling a bit intimidated by it all, you are in very good company. This quote here is about a top Joyce scholar, Sebastian Knowles. This guy has written books on Joyce, and even he admitted he was terrified of the Wake for years before he finally just went for it. So that feeling, that mix of awe and maybe a little bit of dread, totally normal. And hey, as we get going, please don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and hit that like button. It really helps. Also, if you have any feedback, we will be happy to address any comments you raise. We'd love to hear your own thoughts on tackling this beast of a book. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to figure out why this book feels so unreadable in the first place. Then we'll try to reframe what it is, because it's not what you think. After that, we'll get into a practical reading strategy, I'll give you an essential toolkit, and finally, we'll talk about the amazing payoff, why it's all worth it. So, first things first, before we can figure out how to read the Wake, we've got to understand what makes it feel so impenetrable. And the answer, believe it or not, is actually pretty simple. Here it is, the number one mistake we all make. We try to read Finnegans Wake like a regular novel. It's like trying to play chess using the rules for checkers. It just doesn't work. A normal novel gives you a straight line, a clear plot, characters you can count on. The Wake? Nope, it's a circle. The end is the beginning. The characters, they shift and melt into each other. And the language itself is the language of dreams. You can't just sit back and let it happen. You have to jump in and get your hands dirty. And that leads us to a really crucial shift in how we think about this thing. If it's not a novel in the way we usually mean, then what in the world is it? Let's try to redefine it. One scholar has called it a usable device. And I love that phrase. It's not a story you just passively consume. It's more like an object you interact with. Think of it like a giant, complex puzzle box, or maybe a linguistic playground. Joyce isn't just telling you a story, he's handing you the keys and saying, go play, go discover. And the language of this playground is dream language. You know how in a dream, things just flow, logic gets fuzzy, and it's all about feeling and strange connections. That's what's happening here. Words melt into each other, creating these incredible puns and mashups. It's not nonsense. It's just following a totally different set of rules, the rules of the subconscious. This strange language is perfectly matched by the book's structure. It starts, famously, in the middle of a sentence with a river run, and it ends, hundreds of pages later, with the beginning of that same sentence, leading you right back to the start. It's a perfect loop. Even the title, Finnegans Wake, with that missing apostrophe, it hints that this isn't about just one Finnegan, it's about all Finnegans, everywhere, a never-ending cycle of falling and waking up again. Okay, so our mindset is officially shifted, great, but how do we actually do it? This is where we get super practical with a strategy that makes this whole thing feel, well, doable. Sebastian Knowles calls this the ski slope method, and it's brilliant. Instead of trying to scale the steepest, iciest part of the mountain on day one, you start on the bunny hills. You find the more accessible sections, you get your feet under you, you get a feel for the language and the themes, you build your confidence and your skills before you even think about the black diamonds. And for us, since we're starting right at the beginning, these bunny hills are perfectly placed. You can build up momentum with these key sections right in the first part of the book. You can start with the Mama Festa, which is basically a letter that's a guide to the Wake. Then play around with the riddles to get to know the characters. You can dive into Shem the Penman to get a glimpse into Joyce's own mind. And then experience the absolutely hypnotic beauty of Anna Livia Plurabelle. It's a chapter that literally flows like a river. So, a great strategy is key, but every explorer needs the right gear, right? So, let's build your reading toolkit. Okay, this is a real game changer. The two-lens approach. Think of it like day reading and night reading. During the day, you're a detective. You're analytical. You take notes. You unpack the puzzles. You use your logical brain. But at night, you become a dreamer. You read it out loud, or better yet, listen to a recording. Don't even try to understand every word.
Just let the music of it, the rhythm, wash over you. You'll be using both sides of your brain, and it's amazing what comes through. Also, you really don't have to do this alone. Scholars have been drawing maps of this territory for almost a century. These 4 books here are what one expert calls the 4 Gospels. They're essential guides that can help you find your way. But just remember, they're guides, not rule books. They're there to help you make your own discoveries, not tell you what to think. And maybe the most important tool in the entire toolkit is other people. This is not a solo mission. Find a reading group, an online forum, a friend who's just as crazy as you are. Sharing those aha moments, and yeah, complaining about the tough parts together, it completely transforms the experience. It stops being a lonely struggle and becomes a shared adventure. Okay, we've talked about the challenge. We've talked about the mindset, the strategy, the tools, but that leaves one huge question hanging in the air. Why? Why bother with all this? Let's talk about the reward.
Seriously, why is this journey worth taking? The answer isn't just about bragging rights, being able to say you've read the world's most difficult book. The rewards are so much deeper than that.
When you really get into the Wake, you tap into Joyce's wicked sense of humor and his absolute love of wordplay. You start to see the world a little differently. It's like looking through a kaleidoscope, where everything familiar is suddenly rearranged in these beautiful, surprising patterns. And most of all, you connect to these universal looping themes of human life, of falling down and getting back up, of family fights and love, of history just repeating itself over and over. It's bigger than just reading a book. It can honestly change the way you see everything.
So I'll just leave you with this last thought to chew on. What if this book's legendary difficulty isn't a flaw but a feature? What if, by smashing all the rules of normal language, Joyce actually found a way to tap into something deeper, something more primal, an intuitive way of understanding the world that connects every single one of us? Well, there's only one way to find out. Take the plunge. Happy reading.